And I'm back. A short break between. Double check that the stream is functioning. Yes, it is. So let's get straight to it. It looks as though the police are still here, carrying on with their investigation. Perfect. So let's find Inspector Gregson as quickly as possible. Yes, and let's see if he'll take a break from his chips to look at that silver tip Iris gave us for him. Okay, at least it keeps track of that between sub chapters. Oh, this is the issue. Oh, So, okay, so as for how I've found this case so far, every scene that contains Gregson and Sholmes or Iris is just an instant hit. The first scene with Natsume, it was okay, I guess. It wasn't awful, it wasn't as bad as, like, the first scene with, like, Machito Bai, but I'm interested to see if maybe they make him a little bit more interesting and not so generic and kind of one note when we actually agreed to defend him, because we were obviously going to talk to him again later. I'm interested to see that scene. I'm also interested to see if there's going to be a whatchamacallit investigation this episode. Dance of Deduction. How could you forget the name of the Dance of Deduction? Ah, I've seen pictures of Western musical instruments like this. It's called the violin, isn't it? Of course it is. Mr. Sholmes is renowned for his violin playing. Oh, really? That's right. I just sort of slipped that in. You did what, Iris? I didn't really give it a lot of thought. I just started adding it in the stories. Yes, Mr. Sholmes' exceptional violin playing has been mentioned a number of times. But the truth is, Elliot barely touched a violin in his life up to that point. Oh! Of course, people started asking him to play for them after my stories were published. And he wasn't able to tell them he didn't know how. But then what did he do? He went straight to the pawn shop and bought himself a very nice violin. And then he practiced until his fingers very nearly dropped off. Must be why he's so highly strung. Before I knew it, he'd become rather good. The greatness of the great detective really shone with that experience, I think. It was a great deception, that's for sure. Iris is hard at work at her desk, look. She's tapping away on her typewriter so fast her fingers are a blur. Sorry, I can't stop. I have to make the deadline for the next issue. Oh, I see. Must be very busy then. Don't disturb her, Mr. Naruhodo. I won't, so you can lower your arms now, please. Oh, wrong place. Rain. Done. Da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da-da. Da-da-da. Wait, I haven't actually inspected shit. Here's Briar Road. Near Sholmes Street. So this area here is where the snowman is. This is the building opposite. This is Cabalash Road. I don't know why that one's labelled. Perhaps it will be relevant. Intriguing. Victoria! Yeah. 18. This coin's from 1864. Oh, it's an old coin even in the game. Because it is the turn of the 20th century. This is a 5-shilling piece, isn't it? I believe it's called a crown. Not 5 bob. Pound SD. Pound SD is sometimes called LSD. 3 decimal coins and banknotes. Halfpenny was called a mag. Threepence, or threepenny bit, called a joey. Shilling was called a bob, yeah. 2 shilling was a florin. 2 shillings and 6pence was half a crown. A crown, yeah. 5-shilling piece was a crown or a dollar. I believe it's called a crown. Yes, and you can train a Scotland Yard detective to do whatever you want just with a single one. Iris must be the most powerful 10-year-old in the world. How much is 5 shillings, by the way? What's it really worth? Well, it's probably enough to buy all the chips that the inspector could possibly eat in a whole month. If it's been in line with inflation, it'd be like 4 batches of chips, 5 batches of chips, fish and chips. That's greasy. I can turn it. Oh, no. Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem. Iris's little handwriting is adorable, isn't it? Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that it won't be a problem. Yes, the handwriting might be adorable, but the message is ominous. There's no room for sentiment there. I'm sure it's simply the way you're interpreting it, Mr. Naruhodo. Anyway, I do hope the inspector will tell us what we need to know when he reads it. You don't think it will just make him munch piping hot chips until the steam comes out of his ears, do you? Well, that wouldn't be an entirely terrible outcome. Take that! Inspector Gregson, do you have a moment? I'm sorry to say I don't. I'm a very busy man. Much too busy to talk to a pair of foreign gadabouts, that's for sure.
We have these for you. A present from Miss Iris Wilson.
What? For me? From her ladyship? The ladyship? Give that here, at once. Come on, hand it over. That's for me. Ugh. Don't wait for me to give it to you, will you? What was that coin exactly? It's a silver crown, obviously, but it's a lot more than that.
It's 1964?
It's, well, an appearance fee. That's what it is.
An appearance fee? Oh, I see. You mean...
That's right. For the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes.
Oh no, they pay him to appear in it.
Her ladyship always offers me a little financial reward for featuring me. Every time.
Yes, yes, of course. I know all about your exploits, Inspector. I read them avidly.
Of course, using my name without me say so does make me the butt of a lot of unpleasant jokes. But still.
I am sorry, Inspector, that must be difficult for you.
Never you mind that. So, what do you want to know then, eh?
Sorry?
Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem, he says. Well, obviously, it's not a problem. Go on, fire away. What do you want to know?
Well, if you won't mind, Inspector, we'd very much like to know the address of Mr. Natsume's lodgings.
Ah, the little knife-wielding, moustache Japanese fellow. He lives in a right old hovel. It's just over there, look.
That's a very great point.
On the first floor of that house, on the corner where that wreck of a bicycle's propped up.
Whose bike is it? Might be relevant. That is nearby indeed.
If I remember rightly, the landlord is a Mr. John Garrideb.
Ah, okay. I saw this character in... He's the Moon Man.
Right, well, if you see her again, you make sure you give her ladyship me regards, you hear? I mean it. You tell her that Gregson sends his very best wishes.
Don't worry, Inspector. We will.
Goodbye for now, then. And long live her ladyship.
What the hell? Well, at least he told us what we wanted to know before he left. Yes, so then, shall we go and see what we can find in Mr. Natsume's lodgings? Definitely! That's a rather typical old brick building, isn't it? I'm sure it has a long and interesting history. Well, time certainly seems to have taken its toll on the place. It's crooked and sagging all over. In fact, it looks decidedly worse shape than the other houses around here. According to Inspector Gregson, that's the house where Mr. Natsume had lodgings. Just across the road from where the incident took place, I see. It'd be awful for Soseki-san getting caught up in something like this in a foreign land. It'd be funny if I could send the regards like he said. No. That would have been funny. That would, come on, that would have been a funny little joke. Like the Japanese guy takes it a bit too seriously. Oh. Ooh. That's a...
I shan't comment. Natsume's lodgings. Oh. Oh. This is that room, is it?
No, no, no. May I help you?
No.
May I help you?
No, that's not good either. Ah, yes, would this be the residence of Mr. John Garrideb? What?
Indeed it would, sir. And who may I say is calling?
My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Mr. Naruhodo is representing Mr. Soseki Natsume. I believe he takes lodgings here. We would very much like to ask him some questions about our client. One moment, please. I shall convey the message to Mr. Garrideb.
Did you see that, Miss Susato? It's a real-life English maid.
I know. As I understand it, anyone of standing in English society employs a number of household staff. But that was the first time I've ever seen one in the flesh. Oh, this day keeps getting better.
Certainly feels like we've really arrived now, doesn't it?
Need only to meet the butler, and the experience will be complete.
Well, I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but I understand the sentiment.
Thank you for waiting, Mr. Oh,
No, I'm going to give her the oh voice.
Mr. Garrideb will see you now. This way.
A mess over here. There's this carpet. This whole place is a mess. What's this?
Look at that enormous screen. It must have been put there deliberately, surely. Surely.
Yes, it certainly seems like someone's trying to hide something from view. What could possibly be behind it, I wonder?
I'm going to have a very quick look. Just a little peek. Ahem, ahem.
Maybe let's not, Miss Susato. I think the maid is going to head us off with that cup of tea.
Ahem, ahem. Oh, look! What a wonderful collection of cakes lined up on that gleaming silver cake stand.
Lined up, it looks more like someone has half demolished them to me.
Afternoon tea is a time of indulgence, you know. It's quite the English way. It is Mr. Garrideb's custom to make 2 cakes with his tea. That sounds delightful.
Oh, wait a minute though. There are at least 10 cakes on this cake stand.
Well, naturally. And I would never do to waste leftovers. And whatever Mr. Garrideb doesn't eat, I say to myself, Don't, you shall have to tidy up.
How magnanimous of you.
This old candle holder looks a little out of place here, wouldn't you say?
Yes, you're right, it's clearly supposed to be gold, but it's almost completely black for some reason. Ah, there's your thing, yes. Not a cheap piece of ironmongery. Gimcrack, really. Oh. Used it when I was studying, don't you know? For my commission. I know it's old. Hardly worth hanging on to, really. But, well, it still has its uses sometimes.
Of course.
Does everything in this room have some elaborate story behind it?
They're memories, Mr. Naruhodo. Memories.
But this crockery on display here, it's rather unusual, isn't it?
Oh my, a genuine London dresser. Isn't it delightful? Although the shelves seem to be broken, and the crockery is... Oh dear, it's in pieces.
It really is. The word cracked wouldn't do that chinaware justice.
Ah, I wonder. Perhaps the cannon was fired at it.
Yes, probably something like that. Let's not delve too deeply here. When the window's boarded up.
This window looks out over Briar Road, where the young woman was attacked.
Oh yes, I can make out the policeman on the far side of the road investigating the crime scene.
The glass is rather murky, isn't it? Can't see very clearly.
Okay, that's going to be important in the trial. He's going to come up and testify, because he's probably the witness. Oh no, the witness was a policeman. So there's even more witnesses. Interesting. Does this thing open at all, I wonder?
Oh, I shouldn't underestimate the bitterness of a London winter, sir.
Sorry?
As soon as you open that window, the tea will freeze in the pot. No Londoner would go opening windows at dusk in the middle of winter, I assure you.
It's very unlikely those two would have seen anything of the incident, then. That portrait of Mr. Garrett is glaring at me, I swear.
Have you noticed that all the little frames contain photographic prints of Mr. Garrett as well?
Yes, and there seems to be a statue of a lion on the mantelpiece as well. Oh yes, seemed to come back from the local pawnbroker with that little trinket.
Seemed to come back? What do you mean?
The chap who runs the place is a bally wizard. Went in to sell him something and came out with that thing. Point of fact, now I think about it, I rather often find myself leaving the place for something I don't need.
The lion ornament certainly does seem surplus to requirements.
Susato-san doesn't pull her punches, or her throws for that matter.
That looks like a Medal of Honor, and it's showcased on a very grand banner.
Yes, it's displayed with some pride, I would say, although it bothers me that it's not straight. What? That old thing? Sorry? I should be glad to see the back of it. The General would turn in his grave if I disposed of it. The wall's the best place for it. Keeps the bally thing out of my way. So it's just been polished to shine by accident, I suppose.
There appears to be an inscription on the medal itself. Look. Let me see. It says, "For distinguished participation."
Literally participation medal. Sounds like the kind of honours even I could be in the line for. Well, one doesn't like to blow one's own trumpet. I was given that for my time in the army. Can't measure an officer by the number of medals to his name, of course. Common knowledge in military circles. Your taped up pipe. You're a landlord, though. That uniform looks fairly ancient, doesn't it?
It's clearly been well looked after, though.
That old thing? Ha! Not much better than rags, really. Oh? Well, that ceremonial garb at my retirement bastion, though? Well, I'm not one for dwelling on the past me. Past me, I would have gladly thrown it out, but you know how it is. Anyway, doesn't hurt to have the odd piece of memorabilia lying around, does it?
Oh, I see.
Perhaps we should leave the past in the past. That's a full-sized cannon! What's it doing in here?
Oh my, it's real. I thought it might be a replica. That old thing? Bah, that's little more than a toy. Sorry? The army was selling it off when I retired, so I decided to give it a new home. Never know when the enemy might attack next. Jolly useful to have a cannon about the house. Really, it isn't overkill? Repair, I always say.
Isn't overkill a modern word? Janet Sue. Overkill. Define. Overkill. Give me the etymology. When did it come about? Usage. History. The term is attested from 1946. Overkill. Overkill. Etymology. Yeah, 1946.
Do you think that there may be some trouble brewing, Mr. Garrideb?
Always is. Take Joan here. Never fails to have a clean apron in reserve. Dries them over the barrel, you see. They dry all very well on the cannon there, Joan tells me. Which rather proves my point, I feel.
It's been reduced to a drying rack. No wonder the huge cannon looks like it's hanging its head in shame. I notice you have a pile of books here, Mr. Garrideb. Do you enjoy reading?
Have you experienced London a winter, boy? The nights are long. No better way to pass the time than in front of the fire with a jolly good book.
Oh, there's a copy of Rand's magazine here, I see. No doubt Mr. Garrideb enjoys the adventures of Sholmes too.
The great detective has a great many followers, it would seem. Are those mortar shells? They're enormous.
Ah, I hadn't noticed. What are they doing there?
Ah, those old things. Couple of little rounds I accidentally fired in the barracks during training, you know. Came a bit of a colourful regiment folklore, that incident.
You mean you deliberately hunted out the spent shells?
I wouldn't say deliberately exactly. Only scrap iron after all. Usually just thrown away, I believe. But you never know when things might come in useful, do you?
Useful for what, exactly?
Yes, well...
I think it would have been funny. Oh, it would have been funnier if that would have just been the end of it. You just said, yes, well, and that's just, yeah. It's just dead silence.
Joan here did manage to knock one of the bally things on my foot the other day while she was dusting.
Oh no!
Hadn't shed a tear since 1869 before then, you know.
Maybe reconsider throwing them away. That's all.
Yeah, good day to you, sir. Good day to you. John Garrideb at your service.
Pleased to meet you, sir. This is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. He's a defense lawyer.
Excuse me not getting up. Took a good shot to the knee a few years back in the Battle of Maywand. Don't you know? Earned a medal for my pains. I had to withdraw from service.
That's false, because you only have a medal of participation, not like a fancy medal.
Earned a medal for my pains, but had to withdraw from service. Handed over the reins to up-and-comings.
He's a retired soldier.
It's a hell of a job getting up and down the stairs now, I can tell you.
Well, I mean, we noticed that the Japanese soldiers were paid quite badly, so I wonder. This probably is better than yes sir, no sir gets, but
Don't get out much, as you can imagine.
yes, it's quite a climb up here to the second floor, isn't it? I was panting up the top of the stairs.
You really must take some more exercise, Mr. Naruhodo.
Do you think so?
Well, Mr. Garideb, no doubt you were very courageous to earn yourself a merit medal.
Oh, it was nothing. The medal's just a folder roll, really. I had to offend the general, though. I grudgingly displayed it on the wall. Why don't you fetch it down, Joan? Let these good people see it properly. Joan, fetch the... Ah! Damn it, dash it all, woman, be careful.
Oh, dearie me. I do beg your pardon, sir.
You jolly nearly took the skin off my hands.
I shall be more careful, sir.
So anyway, there you have it. Living the quiet life now.
Yes, I see.
Now then, I hear you want to know about the chap lodging downstairs. Is that right?
Yes, we would be very grateful to if you could answer some questions for us.
Only 2 plays, naturally. Especially if it helps to keep the peace in here in Blighty.
At the borough.
They forged an alliance with the Empire.
Blighty. Britain? Blighty? No, I don't know.
We forged an alliance with the Empire of Japan recently, as I'm sure you're aware. This case is very much in the public eye, as it were.
Oh, is it?
Even had some famous detective poking around, you know? In this old house, would you believe?
Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Could have been. Catch the chap's name? Not really my cup of tea, all that detective business.
Oh, but you have a copy of Ranster magazines here, so...
Hey, no,
Anyway, the chap's investigating the father's room as we speak.
So he's in Soseki-san's room.
It's a bally nuisance, that's what it is. The whole neighbourhood's twitching its curtains now. I don't like all this fuss. Jolly unsettling.
About Mr. Natsume then, Mr. Garideb. Please do tell us.
Ah, yes. Japanese chap. Only been lodging here for a week. Oh, just 1 week.
So he moved in very recently then?
I have 2 lodgers most of the time. One on the ground floor and one just below us. The first floor room became available a week ago, so you see. There'd been... Ah! Dash it all, Joan. Do be careful.
Oh my goodness, I'm terribly sorry, sir. If you want to know my opinion, I thought he was a shady sort from the moment I set eyes on him. Oh, why? He seemed to have a most nervous disposition, always shaking and overlooking his shoulder, and looking over his shoulder, and a shady written across his sweat-soaked brow, if you ask me. I said to myself, Joan, this man is trouble. Sooner or later he's going to do something untoward. And I'm rarely wrong about anything.
You won't be calling this maid as a witness, that's for sure.
Was there anything else that struck you as suspicious about the man at all? Oh yes, there indeed was.
She's dying to tell us. This is a long conversation. Have you noticed anything else at all about the lodger, about your lodger, Mr. Natsume?
Oh my word, yes. The man was shadier than an orchard.
Could you elaborate?
Oh, take the man's room. Absolutely stuffed full of books it is. More than anyone could ever read. And he never so much as passes a time of day with another living soul. I ain't seen a single visitor call. He just trots off to that old bookshop every single day and comes back at 5 to light the gas fire. The funny little man is up long past the time everyone else in the house has gone to bed too.
Oh, I see.
The gentleman on the ground floor goes to bed at around 9 each night. Never known that Japanese fellow to retire any earlier than 2 in the morning.
Ah,
Could you clarify something, I wonder?
What, pray?
How do you know so much about Mr. Natsume's routine?
Oh!
I'd understood that neither of the lodges live on this floor of the house. Is that correct?
That's right, they're both below us. On the first floor in the street level.
Then, how is it that you know so much about the lives of your lodgers? Precise times that they come back in the evening, for example, even the times they go to bed.
Good grief, Joan. Be more careful, woman. Oh my goodness, sir. I'm terribly sorry, sir.
something doesn't add up here. The shady landlord, more like. Seems that the incident took place at around 5 in the evening. Did you happen to look out of the window at around that time?
The window?
Yes, we noticed the window over there looks out over Briar Road. The incident took place on the pavement just on the far side of the street. Is there anyone suspicious loitering nearby?
5 o'clock's the dinner time in the Garrideb household. I'm afraid I don't remember seeing anything. How about you, Joan? No, sir. It would just have been dusk. Outside already at that hour. With the fog as well, I should think it would have been quite impossible to see the other side of the road.
Oh yeah, it's like February, right? So yeah, the sunset would be around like 5:30.
Oh, I see.
Did you notice anything out of the ordinary then?
Such as?
Anything at all, even if it seems unrelated.
Well, yes, was there something then? Well, it's nothing particularly significant, but it's around this sort of time here that... Loving God, Joan, watch what you're doing. Oh, dear me. What have I done? I'm awfully sorry, sir. Be more careful, woman. Of course, sir. Oh, may, Mr. Narrow Hollow?
Oh, yes?
I have an exceedingly good memory, as far as I remember. Nothing of anything significant took place here at that hour. Nothing at all.
Oh, really, Mr. Garrideb? Well, you were talking before, it sounded rather like there might have been.
Oh, well, as I was saying, it was just a trifling matter, really. Nothing of... Don't dash it all. What's the matter with you, woman? Begging your pardon, sir. Nothing happened. Yeah, quite. Nothing happened. We sat down to a quiet, uneventful meal. Joan? That's right, Mr. Garrideb.
What's the matter with these two?
It sounds like something happened here in this room on the evening of the incident. But what?
I wish I knew. Hint, hint, hint. The room is in tatters.
Could you tell us which floor Mr. Natsume's room is on? Why, certainly. It's just below us on the first floor. Why, certainly. It's just below us on the first floor.
Mr. Sholmes is investigating there, even as we speak.
Yes. Told me that's his name and asked him to look into the matter. So I gave him the key.
Mr. Natsume has engaged Mr. Sholmes' services.
It's a blatant lie. Would it be alright if we had a look around? Mr. Natsume's room, I mean. Don't see why not. It's just down one flight of the stairs. Who knows if we'll find anything that could help us with the case, but we have to try. We need all the clues we can lay our hands on, shall we?
Yes, and while we're there, we can speak with Mr. Sholmes again. Perhaps he'll be able to tell us more.
Done. It was a long conversation. How long is this streaming going? We are 41 minutes in, and literally all we've done is walk into that place and have that one conversation and investigate, I suppose. Nothing there. Oops. Nothing there. What?
Just look at this place. Smell it. It's so musty in here. Suppose it's the mountains of old books that are responsible for that.
He takes his study trip very seriously, I see.
I don't think I've ever seen so many books in all my life.
No, me neither. So dark in here too.
Is that the window over there?
Well, it was the window, I think, yes, once upon a time. For some reason, it's been closed up with bricks and mortar. So this is where Mr. Natsume lives.
By the way, I haven't spotted Mr. Sholmes anywhere. Have you?
No, that's true, but according to what Mr. Garrett have told us, great detectives should be around here somewhere investigating. Oh my god.
Oh, look! It's a beckoning cat from home.
It's a bit big and bulky, isn't it? Surely Mr. Natsume didn't bring that mannequin Echo all the way from Japan with him.
I hardly think you're in a position to comment, Mr. Naruhodo. You're forgetting the enormous Daruma doll that you brought in your luggage.
Well, it can be dangerous travelling abroad. I wanted a lucky charm.
Well, I imagine Mr. Natsume wanted the same, and this cat is sure to beckon good luck to him.
Not doing a very good job so far, is it?
He only moved in a week ago.
You mustn't say such things.
I didn't say a word. Now it's such a giveaway. Look at all those books stacked up there. They almost reach the ceiling.
They're all works of English literature, and they all smell so musty.
This volume of books to hand, you'd never be short of reading material, would you?
No, What a dreamy idea!
A bad dream, maybe, for me at least. Mind you, I don't imagine that the books I don't imagine that the book there. I don't imagine the book that's at the bottom of the pile now will ever be read again.
That sentence is a bit jankily. I don't imagine the book that's at... I think that that's just kind of... It should either be put after imagine or just removed.
Ah, so reading it is an experience that comes but once in a lifetime, just as the tea ceremony teaches us.
Certainly didn't expect the conversation to turn down the path of tea ceremony philosophy. Do you even call this a window?
I think so. It was a window at one time, after all. Although, all that remains is a frame around some bricks now.
But really, it's just a wall then, isn't it? Why would anyone deliberately brick it up like that?
I'm afraid I have no idea. Ah! Perhaps Mr. Natsume painted the brick design on in a fit of whimsy.
That's alarmingly feasible. Anyway, whatever the reason, the lack of ventilation in here makes the place very oppressive.
It does. I imagine being cooped up in a room like this would be extremely tiring. That desk seems to be wedged into a crevice between the mountains of books on either side.
Suppose Mr. Natsume would sit there and read while stroking his cat. Surrounded on all sides by these towering old tomes. Surely he dreamt of books every night as well.
Yes, he must have done, mustn't he? Oh, what's this? It's a receipt from a second-hand bookshop. Your books.
Or is it Yurei Books? Oh yes, Mr. Natsume's name is on it, look. Date of purchase? 2 days ago at 4:45 p.m. It's the day of the incident.
He was carrying books, so he couldn't have stabbed him.
That's just a short while before he was embroiled in the terrible attack. Must have been on his way back from buying those old books.
Your books, 17th Feb. Yeah, Mr. Natsume. The sum of 2 shillings, tendered in receipt of a picture of Monsieur Lecoq, a meal for Gabriel, and Canterbury Yearnings. He was studying English literature. Oh wow. That was a really cute little animation.
Oh my! What an adorable little cat! Perhaps he's looking after all the books while his master is away.
How about that? He disappeared into that pile of books as quick as a flash. Tricolour Mike, wasn't it? Do they even have that sort of cat here in Great Britain?
Perhaps Mr. Natsume brought the little creature with him from Japan.
It's made me feel homesick now.
Already? We've only been in the country for 2 days.
Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, I appear at last. Oh, yes. Fantastic.
You know what? I'm gonna try and see. What if me investigating this room made him appear?
Ooh.
No, not Sholmes is sweet. I just read the word Sholmes and was like, yep.
Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, let us engage in the art of deduction.
Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo.
Aha! There he is! Where did he appear from?
He seems to be engrossed in the pages of an old book. I hope he won't mind if we disturb him. Hello, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, you too! Good day! Now, let me see. Where was it that we met?
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, we were together on the SS Beria.
Ah, yes, of course, the Beria. And let me see. What happened on that voyage?
It was Kazuma Soki. He died, tragically. But you were a great help to us.
Ah, yes, but of course, the case of Mr. Asoki.
It was literally 2 days ago, man.
It was the one with the snake, wasn't it?
Oh,
Well, you seem to remember something of it at least.
what an honor to be remembered vaguely by the great Aleks Sholmes. This is Mr.
Oh, no, no, my dear madam. Hold your tongue. I pride myself on superior powers of recollection. Your names are safely recorded in my brain attic. Miss Naruhodo and Mr. Susato.
So try the other way round, Mr. Sholmes.
I lose the first round. In truth, I had hoped to invite you both to my Baker Street suite the day we arrived in London. But some Scotland Yarders ambushed me at the railway station and whisked me away to a crime scene. It was an entirely trivial case, of course. I solved the matter in no more than 30 minutes.
So they apprehended Sosaki-san in that short of an amount of time.
I'm afraid that the pursuance of a new case has dulled my recollection of my past involvements a little.
A little?
It's a mistake to think that one's brain attic has elastic walls that can distend to any extent. I do my best to forget useless facts, lest they should elbow the useful ones. Yes, those are my own words of inimitable wisdom. You know, from an adventure entitled A Study in Scarlet.
Is that really a quote from Study in Scarlet? Just forget everything. Great advice. Please, there's no need to quote yourself.
I don't here always remember my pearls of wisdom, but fortunately, my associate pens them beautifully.
Means Iris, I suppose.
Mr. Sholmes, we have some extremely important questions to ask you about the trivial case you mentioned.
Goodness, what an earnest expression. My dear madam, I should be only too pleased, and this murky room is an apt place to discuss the murky case.
You know the rules. If a scene has Sherlock Holmes in it, it's a good one.
Mr. Naruhodo, please. Despite aspersions to the contrary, I'm a professional. If I am to unleash my deductive powers on that trinket, I must ask for a sum of £3 in cash.
Oh, I don't need you to make any deductions about it. I was just wondering if you might know...
Mr. Naruhodo, as a professional, I insist that if I am to offer my opinion on that trinket, I must ask for a sum of £3 in cash.
I believe Mr. Sholmes has his eye on an expensive copy of the complete works of Shakespeare.
Yes, to stand on the stage amid rapturous applause, it has long been a dream of mine, as you know.
I literally had no idea. Have you seen this, Mr. Sholmes?
Shush! I must have silence! It is of the first importance when I'm in the throes of deduction that nothing relevant distracts me.
Oh, sorry.
Cloudy changing to fair, perhaps.
You're in the throes of deducing the weather?
Ah, the receipt for the books. Our astute Japanese friend purchased. I uncovered that yesterday morning. A marvelous find, wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yes. The work of a truly great detective.
What a scatterbrained individual he must be to have left it behind. Curiously, there is no mention of this publication on the receipt. Odd, when you consider how fascinating it is.
You mean not everyone in London buys Rand's magazine every time they visit the shop? Yes, odd indeed.
Oh, Mr. Sholmes, how expertly you slipped that into the conversation.
Ah, I'm glad you agree. Detective stories can be great works of literature too, my dear fellow.
Mr. Natsume's arrest. We know this to be the lodgings of a Japanese foreign student by the name of Soseki Natsume. It seems that you assisted in his arrest, Mr. Sholmes. The stabbing of a young woman out here on Briar Road.
Natsume. Yes, I believe it was a name rather along those lines.
But Mr. Natsume denies it. Was it really justifiable to arrest him on so little?
I'm sorry, Mr. Sato. I have not the slightest idea what you mean.
What?
I can't believe he was looking Susato-san squarely in the eye while feigning ignorance.
I assure you, I am not merely feigning ignorance. It would appear as if the pair of you are under some misapprehension.
Oh, how?
I assure you I have no recollection of accusing your stooped compatriot of the crime. That was all Mr. Tobias Gregson.
That doesn't make sense.
The good detective of Scotland Yard made the following request of me, and I quote verbatim. Oh, I'm going to do a Sherlock Holmes doing an impression of Tobias Gregson. No, Tobias Gregson. No, fashion chaps. Oh, we need you to ascertain the identity and whereabouts of the man seen fleeing the crime scene.
Ah, a man seen fleeing.
There are a number of books scattered on the pavement of the scene. From the book plates, I was quickly able to determine from the bookshop from which they had been purchased. On speaking with the proprietor, I was immediately led to this address. Elementary, wouldn't you say? I believe there is a receipt around here somewhere from the establishment in question.
So you don't think Mr. Natsume is the culprit then?
That I could not tell you. It was aggravating my faculties, hence why I returned here. However, this place is such a trove of fascinating books, I found myself quite lost in bibliophily. No, bibliophily. Do not be deceived into believing that I am a man of leisure. No.
Oh dear.
Ah, Mr. Narrator. Ah. He said, tell me. Have you encountered the landlord of these lodgings?
Yes, Mr. Garrett, a retired military man.
It was the first time I've ever met a soldier from the Great Britain institution that is the services.
It was the first time I'd ever met a maid from the great British institution that is service.
Ah!
I didn't think it was that funny.
I do apologize. As you may well be aware, many households in London employ a maid. Certainly not that one, he's too poor.
Yes, I read as much in my Great Britain primer.
And so, conversely, whether or not a household employs a maid has come to betoken the social standing of those dwelling therein.
Betoken their social standing? Sorry.
Put simply, my dear fellow, those who employ at least a single maid are considered middle class. Those who do not are beneath that. In the upper echelons of society, of course, households employ enough staff to constitute a large family.
Goodness, how extraordinary!
As you can appreciate, for those on the precarious boundary between the middle and lower classes, being able to afford just one maid is of the first importance. I have no idea. And it is for precisely that reason that I find great stimulation in the situation upstairs. Specifically, in the retired army veteran, Mr. John Garridon. Oh? Affable as he is, the fellow is hiding something. Whether or not it imposes on the circumstances of this case, I am yet unable to ascertain.
I'm thoroughly lost on what he means to say.
We knew he was hiding something.
This room thoroughly suffocating for the soul, my dear fellow. I assure you, any man whose lot is to dwell in this place, in a place such as this, will stab somebody sooner or later.
Mr. Natsume has stabbed no one.
Ah, but sooner or later, as I said.
I don't believe that's the issue here.
About this dark little room, Mr. Sholmes, can you explain the whole boarded up window? Why is there no longer a window? Do you have any idea?
Ah, no window.
Well, I mean, I can clearly see that there is a window of sorts. But it's been completely blocked with bricks.
Ah, I see. The answer to that question is quite simple. Window tax.
Yes. Window tax was a thing. Yes. True.
Window tax? What is that? Surely, not a tax on windows.
Precisely that.
Oh my goodness.
Until relatively recently, a tax was levied on households in this country by the number of their windows. Those of lesser means, having inherited a sizable and costly family home perhaps, rapidly closed windows up, while the rich opened windows here, there, and everywhere, in an effort to curry favour with those in power by furnishing them with large sums of tax money.
How awful and unjust, forcing people to live in rooms devoid of light.
Indeed, disease was rife as a result.
Okay.
So, some 40 years ago, or thereabouts, the window tax was abolished.
But these guys are too poor to even buy the new windows.
But its legacy remains, as you see, in squalid lodgings such as these, for example.
I suppose Mr. Natsume's stipend for living here in London isn't very generous, perhaps.
It would appear so. I've done a little digging and discovered that these lodgings were offered at an extraordinary low price.
As the room is so awful, I should think.
Apparently,
Apparently, Mr. Natsume only moved in here about 1 week ago.
yes, that's correct. However, I don't believe the low rent is explained by the shabby nature of the accommodation.
Oh?
Still, that is of little relevance here. A matter not worthy of further attention.
Are you sure? I'm curious now. Why did he move in here? Why was the rent low?
Ha! Let us engage. Well, I believe I've told you all I can now.
Thank you, Mr. Sholmes.
Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Was it not your intention to become a practitioner of law?
You remembered that, did you?
Will you perhaps be offering your services in this very matter, I wonder? To the occupant of this room, Mr. Natsume, was it? Haha, I'm the genius, I remembered his name.
I'm not sure.
Not sure? On what grounds?
Well, I actually defended someone in court here only yesterday.
Really? Well then, I congratulate you, sir, on an ambition realized, and so promptly too.
The thing is, it's really made me question things. My rights to believe in my clients, to trust in their innocence.
Yes, trust.
Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Natsume didn't do it, did he?
Ah! My dear fellow, I haven't the first idea.
Oh, but I thought that's why you were here. Didn't you come back to investigate?
Ah, yes, that was indeed my initial intention. But there are simply too many fascinating books here. I couldn't possibly ignore them.
Oh, I see.
Nevertheless, there are two facts that I can state quite unequivocally. The man who fled the scene of the crime 2 days ago was the Japanese occupant of this room. And there are witnesses who swear to having seen the same man commit the crime. That is all I can say. And one more thing.
Oh, what is it, Mr. Sholmes? Tell us.
I cannot say with any certainty whether or not it is of any relevance to this case, but I am quite sure that the retired army man who owns this property is hiding something.
Mr. Garrett is... Mr. Sholmes said as much before, actually, didn't he?
Anyway, at present, that is really all that plays on my mind in relation to this case.
Mr. Naruhodo, as yet our investigations have uncovered nothing that could help establish Mr. Natsume's innocence.
No, you're right. Perhaps it's time we probed a little deeper into Mr. Garrett's secret.
Just remember, I cannot be sure whether the landlord's secret will prove to be of relevance or not. But I wish you every success, of course, Mr. Naruhodo.
A busy man indeed. He's gone back to his book in the corner of the room. Yes. Let us engage. Excuse me, Mr. Sholmes.
Yes, so true. To be or not to be? That is indeed the question, Mr. Naruhodo.
To be or not to be brushed off? That is the question. The answer is all too clear.
Let's leave Mr. Sholmes in peace. Let's leave Mr. Sholmes in peace, shall we?
Dun 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 dun. Bum 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 bum. Na 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 na. Dun dun dun. Mr. Garredub's room. How long have we been going? 1 out of 10. Slightly longer than the last one.
Ah, you pair again. Tell me, what was the detective chap? Oh, I forget his name. Still hard at work down there?
Mr. Aleks Sholmes.
Ah, yes, rings a vague bell. All that detective business isn't really my thing, I'm afraid.
Well, Mr. Sholmes is in his element down there.
Jolly good show. Have a cup of tea, if you please, Joan. Now then, why don't you tell me what... Ah! The uptake for time, woman! Will you watch what you're bloody well doing?
Oh, I shall be servicing dinner shortly, sir.
Ah, yes, of course. Frightfully rude of me, but I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to take your leave, if you'd be so kind.
Oh, yes, of course. We are deeply grateful for all your assistance.
Not at all, not at all. Don't get much chance to talk with young foreigners who like yourselves. Been a pleasure. Best of luck and all that. Perhaps you can see yourselves out.
According to Mr. Sholmes, the Garradeb is hiding something. Since no other avenues of investigation seem to open to us at the moment, perhaps we should do some digging.
Ah! Haha!
Ah, yes, indeed.
Ah! What's he doing over there?
Mr. Sholmes! Mr. Sholmes!
Aha! Ah! Aha! We meet again, my dear fellows! Good gracious! When did you sneak in here? Aleks Sholmes, sir! At your service!
Whatever you were doing by the window?
I am given to watching the evening sky as the sun sets, madam. Yet sadly, cheerful as the room downstairs undoubtedly is, it lacks an aperture for such observation. So I took the liberty of borrowing a small corner of space by the window up here. Well,
Keeping an eye on one's windows at dusk is the prudent thing to do in London, I'm gathering.
ah, and one other thing, Mr. Narrowholder.
Oh, me?
I thought perhaps you might be in need of a certain great detective's great mind.
Wait, he's not talking about... Is he? I didn't expect to be going through that again so soon.
Do you mean, Mr. Sholmes?
Ah, there is a mighty secret in this modest room. My eyes see even the most trivial of trifles.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.
I take it you're prepared, Mr. Narrowholder.
I think so.
There's just time enough for one of my greatly admired great deductions. Let us conclude the matter before dark. Mr. Garradeb. Though it would seem you are a military man of considerably distinguished service, your standing as a landlord is most certainly not what one might call first-rate. I'm afraid, sir, that it is all too clear to me. There are two conclusions that I have been able to draw by careful observation of your living arrangements. I beg your pardon. The first is that even as we speak, you are concealing the presence of a ferocious beast in your care. Eh? And the second is that as a result of the beast's violent rampage, you have lost something very dear to you.
Mr. Naruhodo, look! The old man's broken out in a cold sweat. Unbelievably, it seems Mr. Sholmes' conclusions are both spot on.
How could you possibly? How could I possibly know? You mean to inquire? The answer couldn't be simpler, sir. For in the dense jungle of logic and reasoning, I am the king of beasts. And I know only too well that wild beasts are not so easily tamed. So, shall we begin? Once again, Aleks Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. The great deduction, the game is afoot. It certainly shouldn't take a great detective to see that a fearsome beast has been on the rampage of late within these four walls. Thus we are faced with the question, what form might this beast take? For a man of military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid. Your furtive glance, Mr. Garrideb, leads us directly to the answer. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that lion statue. Yes, though an army man, you appear unimposing at best. A fact that has fueled your admiration for the mighty lion, the king of beasts. What is this piffle, I ask you? In the end, your admiration became so great, in fact, that you had a living, breathing specimen shipped from India, which you tried to keep in this very house. What? Yet with such a wild beast, yet living with such a wild beast proved much more difficult than you had imagined. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much in evidence.
Oh.
Yet as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madam?
Me?
I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain to me with one glance in your direction.
It is?
Your dress pocket gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts. For protruding from it is a handbill advertising a circus show. Yes, you sought to dispose of this terrifying lion, Mr. Garrideb, at Batty's Circus, a travelling show currently sojourning in a nearby park. I've observed the tents. You sold the savage lion, sir, to the circus troupe. I most certainly did not. I believe I've made my point. The fearsome beast which ran amok in this room was an Indian lion. And a simple visit to the circus now will reveal the lion prancing jubilantly through a ring of fire. Aftermath. Now, Mr. Garrideb, it is plainly clear that you still have deep feelings for this formidable beast. Indeed, in that blithe pose, the distress this loss has caused you is veritably tangible. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders. The pain you feel is being revealed by that supporting arm. Amid fits of tears, you let your beloved beast go. The strain of losing something so dear to you is clearly visible in your visage. Nonsense, man. I simply... But what we must now ask ourselves is the true cause of this pain. and we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Yes, it is this pile of bills that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Every envelope contains another demand for payment.
Ah,
For cartloads of meat, potatoes, wheat, and tea. Indeed, feeding your beloved has had a devastating impact on the financial circumstances of your household.
It only eats meat, though. Did he say any meat in that? Oh, yeah, literally. Oh, meat.
And so you had no choice but to let it go. Yes, well, Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out this one last unimaginable attack.
unimaginable.
The aftermath of which can be clearly seen by observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, dearie me.
What could have caused such a destructive outburst?
Ah,
This time, madam, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eye has settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the Tower of Cakes.
ah,
There is no creature more dangerous on this earth than a beast with an unsatiated appetite. Was it or was it not said by a certain noblewoman, if they have no bread, let them eat cake?
Why can't I? Click, fine.
Food is at the heart of all tragedy, in fact.
whatever you mean.
Having tired of the taste of cake, the beast began to stalk its next prey. I'm sure I need not spell out the nature of this final act of destruction carried out by the beast. There's only one logical conclusion. Worked into a frenzy by hunger, the lion attacked and ate the carpet. The teeth marks in the carpet are a perfect match with those of a lion I once saw in India.
Of course.
Thus concludes Aleks Sholmes' great deduction of this beastly puzzle.
I love it.
Ah! Ah! What is the matter with you, Joan? You're pouring scalding hot tea all over me.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Garrideb. I'm afraid I didn't notice.
Aha! My deductions can be startlingly sharp. It stands to reason your cup runneth over. Indeed, my revelations can make people spill tears at times too.
Oh,
Mr. Sholmes, sorry to butt in again, but could I make an observation?
Why, certainly, Mr. Naruhodo. What is it again?
Well, your deductions just now. Do you really think a lion could fit inside a room this size?
Indeed, it is the only explanation for the facts. The terrifying truth all too often lies beyond the realms of common sense.
It wouldn't be an idea to consider what lies inside the realms of common sense as well. But wouldn't it be an idea to consider what lies inside the realms of common sense as well?
but if an uncaged lion had run amok in this very room, surely Mr. Garrideb and his maid would have been hurt or worse.
Ah, that's where you are stuck. No doubt the former military man held his own against the beast using that large cannon.
I thought you said that they sold the lion to the circus.
And what about the food? Meat and potatoes are one thing, but I don't believe I have ever heard of a lion that drinks tea.
Ah, my dear Miss Susato, It occurs to me with some regularity that, irrespective of race and breeding, whenever anyone lands on Great British soil, they are infused with a highly appropriate taste for afternoon tea. Afternoon tea.
Oh, what a glorious notion. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, it's your turn to shine again.
I had a feeling that was coming.
Slight massage. That's all Mr. Sholmes' deductions need. You can do it.
Excellent. I've been waiting for my trusty partner in deduction to step forward. Mr. Naruhodo.
We don't even know yet whether or not this is going to help with Mr. Natsume's case. Still, uncovering the truth is always worthwhile, whatever the motivation. At least, that's what I want to believe.
Let us start again. From the beginning of Herlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning spectacular.
Oh, they changed the Ryunosuke icon to have the sword. Katana. I'm not going to read it again. Well, I might do, actually. I just like doing his voice.
That a fearsome beast have been on a rampage of late within these four walls. Thus we are faced with the question, what form might the beast take? Ah, for a man with military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid. Aye. Your furtive glance, Mr. Garrideb, leads us directly to the answer. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that lion statue.
I really didn't see the lion thing coming.
No, but if you observe Mr. Garrideb's reaction, it rather seems as though some beast did run in amok here in this room.
Yes, something with a very fierce nature.
But it couldn't have been a lion transported from India.
So what was it then?
We must follow Mr. Garrideb's gaze. That will lead us to the true answer. Answer.
Well, this is the lion statue that Mr. Sholmes picked out.
Yes, I wonder. Perhaps if you did live with a lion, it would prove to be a rather sweet companion.
I think that's like a mouse trying to tell its family that the cat around the house is sweet.
I suppose it is a bit of a flight of fancy, isn't it?
Anyway, the beast we're looking for is something else. Let's have a good look around. These are shells for the cannon, are they? It's a strange place to keep them.
I imagine they have some significance to Mr. Garrideb from his time in the army. Ah, of course. He mentioned the battle to us before, didn't he?
Wait, is this text different if you don't examine them? Oh, that's crazy.
Do you remember? He said he'd been shot in the knee. Perhaps it was one of these that hit him.
If a round that size hit his knee, there'd be nothing left of it. Or Mr. Garrideb, for that matter. Mr. Sholmes has a Persian slipper, and this man has spent shells. Perhaps it's customary in Britain to display, well, rubbish on the mantelpiece. What's this photograph?
It appears to be from Mr. Garrideb's wedding. He looks very happy, doesn't he?
He does, but you can't make out his bride.
No, how unfortunate. Something must have struck the glass directly over the woman's face.
I wonder what's happened. Probably best not to delve too deeply there.
This must have been when Mr. Garrideb was still in the army.
He seems to be carrying his rather stout bride effortlessly and beaming a smile at the same time.
I suppose he was very strong in his younger years.
Hard to imagine now, he's as thin as a rake.
Be glass is broken, so you can't see the bride's face at all.
No amount of cracks could hide the woman's plump form.
I think powerful would be kinder than plump, Mr. Naruhodo.
Yes, she certainly looks that. There's a lot of horsepower there. Not someone you'd want to upset, that's for sure.
Oh look! Have you noticed her wedding ring? It's very large, isn't it?
Yes, that's an unusual design.
It looks like some sort of embellished sunflower.
Take that!
Take that! Take that! The true nature of the beast that ran rampant here is revealed by that newlywed bride.
Precisely, Mr. Naruhodo. No other explanation could possibly fit. Yes, this framed print pictures your wife, Mr. Garrett. And while we lament the fact that her face is obscured,
We can still make out her mighty arms, and note the considerable horsepower they must contain.
oh, indeed, surely any woman of such powerful constitution would be honored to be described as a beast.
Honored might be stretching a point.
Too late. The fact remains that the beast, which so clearly savaged this room, was your wife, Mr. Garrett. Yeah. The chilling traces of a wild rampage are still very much in evidence.
Well,
Yet as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madam,
me!
I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain to me with a glance in your direction.
It is.
Your dress pocket gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts.
The poor, fragile, defenseless woman is beside herself.
Well, I don't know about fragile.
Oh dear. Anyway, Mr. Sholmes is quite right. There's no sign of a Mrs. Garrett anywhere.
But it seems there may be a clue as to her whereabouts. A clue that this maid is trying to hide. I wonder where Mr. Garrett's wife could be. Well, he is not as rich as he is trying to make himself out to be. And there's a big massive slap on his face. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Too tightly shut eyes to avoid even the chance of a giveaway glance. Pursed lips to prevent any secrets from slipping out. Rounded cheeks to deflect any abuse that might be hurled her way. Yes, this is an unnervingly powerful woman, Miss Susato.
It's your turn of phrase that's unnerving, Mr. Naruhodo. What a charming little teapot, and it's in pristine condition. Joan has been pouring some deliciously fragrant tea from it for Mr. Garrideb, hasn't she?
Well, not so much for Mr. Garrideb as on Mr. Garrideb, wouldn't you say?
I wouldn't dream of drawing attention to it. That certainly does appear to be a circus handbill poking out from her pocket. Matty's Circus, currently performing shows in a park not far from here.
You don't think? Surely Mr. Garrideb didn't sell his wife to the circus?
Mr. Naruhodo, how could you even think such a thing?
I was only joking.
Besides, I would have gone with, do you think he fed her to his pet lion?
That's somehow worse. Dun, 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 dun. Ooh. She's wearing a very large ring, look.
Oh yes, a sunflower design with some rather nice embellishments. And it's on the ring finger of her left hand, which means it's surely a wedding ring.
It looks like it's on there for life, too. I can't imagine it would slide off a finger that size.
That's something to think, Mr. Naruhodo. Not to say. Do you know, Mr. Garrideb's wife in the photograph had a ring very much like this one. There's a large sunflower design as well.
Really? You have a great memory for these things. A large sunflower wedding ring. It's quite a coincidence that they have the same ring, isn't it? Take that!
Take that!
Take that! Take that! Your wedding ring gives us a handsome clue to the beast's current whereabouts.
Ah!
Indeed it does. That flowery band gleaming on your finger gives you away. For it is identical to the one shown on the hand of Mr. Garrideb's bride in the photographic print. In other words, you are no ordinary household maid. No! You are Mr. Garrideb's lucky bride. You are Mrs. Garrideb herself.
Oh my word! Oh my word!
Well, jolly fine detecting, sir. Jolly fine detecting, sir. Hey, as you rightly surmised, this is my wife, yes. My Joan. Rather let herself go, you might say. She really was a bally cook at back. It would appear that you don't live in the most comfortable of circumstances. After all, you are a retired army man. Yet, you are in the business of renting out rooms. Sis. I would assume, therefore, you have insufficient means to employ a maid. Would that be correct? It's not right, I tell ya. I was second lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment. A man of his pride, don't you know? By golly, it's a thing when a chap can't even afford to have a single maid in his employ. Yes, here in London, one is rather judged. A household cannot be considered worthy of society if it employs no staff at all. Though in my considered opinion, such concerns about appearances are a folly.
You mean Mr. Garrideb and his wife work as his maid, as his wife work as his maid?
Precisely. Am I right, Miss Garrideb, Mr. Garrideb? Only in company, obviously, but listen here. This must remain a secret. Tip-top secret, please.
The raging wife. Is this type B? I think this is type B for the thingy.
Now, Mr. Garrideb. It is plainly clear that you have deep feelings for this formidable beast. Indeed, that in that blithe pose, the distress this loss has caused you is veritably tangible. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders. The pain you feel is revealed by that supporting arm.
Mr. Sholmes is quite something. He's still calling Mr. Garrideb's wife a beast.
Yes, as a woman, that feels rather uncomfortable.
But Mr. Garrideb is still standing beside her husband. Mrs. Garrideb is still standing beside her husband as we speak. In other words, he hasn't lost his beloved at all, has he?
Oh, how true. So perhaps that supporting arm that seems to be propping up his head has some other significance then.
According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Garrideb's pain is tangible, though. What could that pose of his really signify?
Mr. Garrideb certainly looks glum.
According to Mr. Sholmes' deductions, the
That's because he's having to endure the acute pain of losing something dear to him. But we know that he hasn't lost his wife. So that means there must be another cause for the pain he's suffering. That's a very large pipe, isn't it? Yes, anyone who's seen something that size hanging out of his anyone who has something of that size hanging out of his or her mouth on a regular basis is sure to have a serious chin like Mr. Garrideb's. But what's with that white binding around it all about? Dun, 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 dun. Supporting arm. Is there a third thing? Well, other than the correct answer? Dun, 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 dun. Oh my! Look at that bright red mark! Gosh, that's quite something, and clearly made by somebody's hand. Yes, Mr. Garrideb has been slapped on the face, it seems. Hard! Never seen such a clearly defined mark. Whoever could have done such a thing? Well, there's a very limited number of candidates, I'd say. Take that!
Take that!
Take that! Take that! Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders. The pain you feel is being revealed by that slapped cheek. And of course, the deliverer of that impressive mark on your cheek refuses to fade. Was you, Madame Joan Garrideb? Well, yes. Well, yes. You have been desperate to hide the slap mark on your cheek, sir. Ah! How the blazes! How did you work that out, man? Nothing escapes the notice of one trained in the art of observation, my dear fellow. That's why you haven't looked directly at us even once. You do look a bit weird head-on. To keep your other side from view. Well, Now, let us proceed to the next conundrum. Why were you subjected to such a violent slap? In other words, we must ask ourselves what caused Madame Garrideb to fly into a rage. And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Yes, it is this pile of bills that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Didn't Mr. Sholmes say that the bills were all for lion fodder? Yes, but now we've established that the lion never existed. Which can only mean that the thing responsible for gobbling up all that food was Mr. Garrideb's wife, Mr. Naruhodo. She's a person, not a thing. Yes, well, she's also a person who gave her husband a mighty slap round the face. One so hard that it left a perfect hand mark, in fact. Yes, why would a woman want to hit her husband with such force, I wonder? I'd love to know the answer to that question. Looking at all these bills, it certainly amounts to a great deal of food. Meat and potatoes by the cartload, wasn't it? Well, looking at the two of them, you can tell immediately who eats the lion's share in this household. Well, at least we're no longer talking about an actual lion anymore. Dun 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 dun. There are a lot of books stacked up on the shelf here. Look, all novels that I've never heard of. It would appear that somebody has purchased them all from a second-hand bookshop. I think Mr. Garrideb is something of a book lover. Ah, someone must be reading this book at the moment. There's a bookmark here, look. Mr. Garrideb is clearly an avid reader. Oh, wait a minute. I don't think this is a bookmark. Oh no, So it isn't. It's a note written in a woman's hand. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary.
And look next to the signature here.
Lip marks made with lipstick. Oh, what a passionate and romantic gesture.
Don't get any ideas, Susato-san.
Oh dear, I'm sorry.
So this bookmark is actually a love note then. Take that! Oh. Take that! Take that! Yes, it is that love note that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary. Passionate indeed. Ah, perhaps the sender of this note, a certain Miss Mary, is the fly on the ointment here. In the ointment here. God! But I don't know the bally woman. You don't know her? That note wasn't written to me. It was just in the book. I don't know how it got there. It was just in there, you say. That's right. That's what I've been saying. Ah!
A likely story.
Now listen here, Joan, old thing. I explained at the time. No, that's not his voice. I bought the book at the second-hand place, and that note must have been in there already. So the previous owner of the book... Oh, so the previous owner of the book was using the note as a bookmark, you mean? The infinitely deep cup. Wow, this is a mystery, to be sure. Mr. Sholmes, how do you think this one works? Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, have you not seen these bottomless mugs before? Or cups? They are rather commonplace here in the grand land of Great Britain. That's right, that's what I've been saying. Ah!
A likely story. Story?
For heaven's sake, woman, just look at the name. It's written to James. My name, in case you'd forgotten, is John. Ah!
A likely story.
Are you questioning my name now? There we have it. Arouse the suspicions of the female heart, and you unleash a beast with the most ferocious bite. Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last, unimaginable attack.
Unimaginable.
The aftermath of which can clearly be seen by observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken. Ah.
Oh, dearie me. Oh, dearie me.
What could have caused such a destructive outburst?
Ah.
This time, madam, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eye has settled upon the answer very neatly indeed. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the Tower of Cakes.
But surely Mrs. Garrett didn't eat the carpet?
No, of course not. There doesn't seem to be any doubt that the state of disarray this room is in as a result of her wild temper.
No, that's true. So, this is the last part of Mr. Sholmes' deduction that we need to fix. We only need to follow Mrs. Garredeb's gaze, and that will tell us the real answer.
Alright, let's see what we can see.
Yes. Ah, so many cakes.
Ah, is that all you can think about?
Well, look at them, Mr. Naruhodo. There's a mountain of them, and they all look so delicious.
It's more of a tower than a mountain, I'd say.
It's a mountain, and it's my hope one day, in our very homeland, I'll be able to perform the tea ceremony at the foot of such a mountain.
It's definitely a tower.
This is an advertising handbill for the circus. Batty's Circus. It's in a nearby park.
Isn't this the same as the one we saw earlier? The one that was folded up in Mrs. Garridub's pocket?
Perhaps they're very great circus lovers.
It couldn't be that the Hungry Lion is somehow involved again here, could it?
Oh dear, I hope not. Dun, 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 dun. This looks like a very old candlestick, doesn't it?
The base looks too small. Surely it's very unstable. It looks to me even like the slightest knock would make it topple over.
Oh dear, that would be dangerous.
Wait, take a closer look at this. There's one candle missing.
Yes, I didn't notice that before.
Why is that, I wonder? Why is one candle of the 3 missing from its holder? The carpet here has been ripped to shreds.
Yes, and according to Mr. Sholmes' deduction, the tears made that may match those made by an Indian lion's teeth exactly.
Oh, look here.
What is it?
If you look closely at the edge, you can see scorch marks.
Oh yes, so you can. In that case, perhaps the carpet wasn't eaten in the normal sense at all.
Let's rethink this with that in mind.
They've done a good job with this little bit of window here in the like scene design. It's not just like some polygons textured. There's actually like something there. It's not very accurate. I mean, look at that. Look at that. But is there any more? The chair, perhaps? No, let's just do it. Well, let's do this again in case.
Take that!
Take that!
Yes! To explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the candlestick. Most illuminating, my dear fellow, and of course the only possible way out of this logical labyrinth. Yes, the remnants of a ferocious attack in which the carpet was devoured are clearly visible. Indeed they are. The scorch marks at the edge clearly give the truth away. Scorch marks? It would appear that this room was the scene of a little marital altercation. Mrs. Garridub's mighty arm muscles left an impression not only on her husband's face, but on the entire room. The force of her strike was the candle to fall from the holder. And in seconds, the carpet was alight, and the whole corner of the room in flames. Yes, For the most ferocious beast in the world is neither a violent lion nor a vengeful woman, but fire. And in this room, that ferocious beast bared its claws and ran amok. Eloquently put, my dear fellow. So you see, there it is but one conclusion here. After the sparks of marital discord flew, this room was the scene of a fire. Mr. Sholmes, sir. I salute you! Soul. These dash long winter nights, you know. Nothing to do but read in front of the fire. Luckily, there's a jolly good second-hand bookshop just around the corner. Buy all my old novels there. And in the pages of one particular novel, you discovered some rather illicit material.
For which your wife admonished you harshly, it seems.
Don't know about admonished. Demolished might be rather closer to the mark. And beast is most certainly an apt description.
We go again. The carpet, was that destroyed by fire when the candle fell on the floor?
Afraid to say it was. Having in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. I was caught between the old stick's rage and the raging flames. You paint a torrid picture, sir. One that would have been most entertaining.
That's sympathy for you.
Most entertaining. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. We've had to hide the mess behind that screen for the time being.
Over here, Mr. Garrideb.
Well, you have nothing more to hide now,
If you will allow me.
Ouch.
Had all my favourite old novels in that case. As soon as the fire got hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Shame I can't just read them on my Kindle.
Gosh.
Then the wife started hurling things at me.
What a terrible sight it must have been.
There was I, back up against the window, under heavy enemy fire. Incendiary books coming in 10 to the dozen. Worst of it is, I lost my favourite. Book's called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride. Ah, yes. Your notorious love of big cats is coming through again. I assure you, the title didn't influence my choice in the slightest.
So the poor man really did lose something dear to him as a result of the ferocious beast's rampage.
The Sholmes' deductions turned out to be correct once again.
It can only be described as a great British wonder. I tell you, it was total carnage. Flames everywhere, and the old stick in full fettle. Out of interest, what time of day was that?
Not sure I can remember. It was 2 days ago now. Let's see. Around 5 o'clock, I think.
So at exactly the same time as a terrifying incident was unfolding outside your window on the street below.
Even more terrifying on the inside, I can assure you. Old Blighty could have been flattened outside my window at that moment. And I wouldn't have noticed the dash thing.
Oh, really?
Mr. Sholmes.
Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. What can I do for you?
Well, I think we've got to the bottom of Mr. Garrideb's situation now. What does it have to do with Mr. Natsume's circumstances?
I can't help you there, I'm afraid. What? My dear fellow, if you recall, I did say as much from the outset. I warned you that although I knew the retired army man to be hiding something, I could not be sure whether his secret would prove to be of any relevance or not.
I just knew you were going to say that.
Now, Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't lose heart. Bear in mind that all things fall into only one of two categories, those relevant to the case and those not.
That makes no sense to me.
Well, no matter. It is of far greater importance that you make up your mind now.
Sorry?
Visiting hours at the prison will soon be over.
Oh no,
It's that time already. If we're to accept Mr. Natsume's case, we have official paperwork to attend to.
So that's it. No more time to think.
Perhaps you'd like to betake yourselves to bidding us farewell now. I must prepare supper for Mr. Garadeb.
Oh, yes. I'm so sorry.
Thank you both very much for your time.
So Seki-san will be waiting for us. I'm going to have to give him his answer. Right. I'll do that. No, you know what? I'll do that scene next time and then go to the trial. That sounds fair. So, right, let's do my thing of moving. And I'll leave it in that room. What? Oh, the police have gone.
It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. We must hurry back to the prison.
Yes, I know. Let's hail a cab. Oh.
What's the matter?
Looks like something's going on over there in front of the Garadeb's house. What the fuck?
I know thee not, old man. Fall to thy prayers.
What the fuck are these characters?
Oh, you calling an old man? You rum-lucking, niminy, piminy.
I love British made-up insults, holy crap.
There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Who is this Horatio fellow, eh? What are you on about?
Excuse me.
Hey, what the? Who are you now?
I'm sorry. Just looked as though there might be some problem here. My associate here, Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, is a lawyer, you see.
Hey, a lawyer? What?
If I can be of any assistance, I'd be happy to help. I'm from Japan, but I've studied English law.
Tish! Fine, I'll be on my way for today, but you mark my words. This ain't over yet. Get thee to a nunnery. Do I look like a blooming nun to you?
What the fuck? Okay, fine. I can't do this scene. I can't. I'm leaving it here. I am leaving it here. Alright. There we go. Until tomorrow.